Good evening, everyone. My name is Cynthia Rodriguez Garcia. I'm the president of OLAS, and we're co-sponsoring this event with Speaker Series. I just would like to welcome everyone to the event of Latin Americans relating diversity, history, experiences, and assimilation in the U.S. The ECCE themes addressed tonight will be recognizing the social responsibility of the individual within a larger community, practice awareness of and respect for the diversity of cultures, peoples in this country and the world. There was a change in this event. The original moderator, Dr. Saif, could not make it tonight. She's teaching class. Our moderator tonight would be Sophia Gilhausen Anderson. She is the coordinator of programs and outreach for Hispanic Latino students at UIS. A little background information about Sophia. Sophia spent 14 years living and working in Honduras, both in education and economic development. In 2014, she moved back to the United States with her Honduran family, including Patrick, who was on the panel, and her two sons, Sergio and Ari. I would just like to make an announcement that OLAS will be having an elote fundraiser this Wednesday from 12 to 6 p.m. out in the quad, and the money that will be raised for that fundraiser would be used to send students to a conference in February. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining us here for this panel discussion and kickoff event for Hispanic Heritage Month. As you may or may not know, Hispanic Heritage Month runs from officially tomorrow, September 15th through October 15th. And last week's journal had a big calendar on the back page where you can see all the events. There's also a page on the Diversity Center webpage with the calendar, and they should be posted up all over campus as well. So please look for all of the events that we have coming up over the next month. I would like to thank Cynthia Rodriguez Garcia and the Organization of Latin American Students. The idea for the panel today was actually theirs, and it really came out of a common frustration among many people from Latin America that there's a stereotyping of their culture in this country. Basically, our purpose here tonight is to discuss the vast diversity of cultures, ethnicities, and personal experiences of people from Latin America. Furthermore, we want to highlight the political and social struggles that have occurred in many Latin American countries, often as a result of foreign influences that have led to emigration from those countries. Many Americans complain about the trend of Hispanic immigration across our borders, but they do not realize that in many cases the root causes of that immigration, for example, drug consumption here in the United States, originate here. We recognize that it would be impossible to represent the viewpoints and experiences of all Latin Americans on one panel. But we believe that with 5 countries represented, we will have a diverse representation nonetheless. With that, I would like to introduce our panelists and point out their countries on our map. Let's see here. On the end, we have Mr. Ruben Dario Gomez Gonzalez of Guatemala. He is a tour guide, a Mayan civil rights activist, and a passionate public advocate of his country. Guatemala is right there. Next, Patrick Anderson Amiles of Honduras is a writing specialist at the Learning Hub at UIS from Honduras, which is right next to Guatemala, right there. Next, Dr. Jesus Canelon of Venezuela. He's an assistant professor of management information systems here at UIS. Venezuela is right there, northern part of South America. Dr. Adriana Crocker of Argentina is an associate professor of political science at UIS. Argentina is down here. And last but certainly not least, Dr. Jorge Villegas of Mexico is an associate professor of business administration at UIS. Probably everybody knows where Mexico is, right? I hope so. With that, let's get started with the discussion. Panelists, I have 3 sets of questions for you, and in the interest of time, I will ask that you try to keep your answers to approximately 5 minutes or less. You are not obligated to answer all of the questions in each set, only those that you wish to answer. So the first set of questions include to introduce yourself, to give your name, where you're from, your job, your professional background, and to describe the racial and ethnic makeup of your country. So perhaps we could start with Dr. Villegas and go down the line.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Jorge Villegas. I'm sorry about my accent today. When I talk to people in Spanish, I can't, focus my skills in English. But I'll try my best. Anyway, Jorge Villegas. I'm from, as was mentioned, from Mexico, right there, or your friendly neighbor to the south of you. Currently, I'm associate professor of business administration and chair of my department and chair of so many other things that it never ends. Professionally, I started. I have an undergraduate degree in marketing. After finishing my marketing degree, I decided that I didn't want to do anything related to marketing, so I went to study filmmaking. Why filmmaking? Why not? And I went to study filmmaking in Canada, of all places. I had a wonderful year over there. I went back to Mexico. I opened my own advertising agency, where I worked there for about 7 years, roughly 7 years. And as over there, as I was working advertising, I realized I had more questions than answers about advertising. So I decided to get into a PhD program, and that's how the rest is history. I became a college professor at the University of Florida, and then here at UIS. And that's pretty much my background. Again, it's mostly advertising and marketing research. In terms of my country, Mexico is quite interesting, and probably we have similar racial and ethnic makeup with slight variances. We are what we call mestizos. We're a combination of the indigenous groups with the Spanish that conquered Mexico. And that's been around for, this mix has been around for many years, ages. Out of that particular group, and I went online to look at the numbers because I couldn't, no idea. There are 6 million people in Mexico out of 110 million that speak an indigenous language, like Nahuatl, Maya. So roughly about 7% of the population speaks another language. It's not across all Mexico. You will find in some places, like I am from Monterrey, Mexico, on the north, very close to Texas, way too close to Texas. The population that speaks another language might be 1% or even less. You go to Oaxaca, which is on the south of Mexico, and there 20% of the population or even more speak another language, like Nahuatl, Maya, and so on and so forth. So again, in general, 7%, but it really depends on which part of Mexico you are, where you find people from that speak other languages. In terms of how many they say that they have a heritage from all these different indigenous groups like Nahuatl, Maya, is 15 million. So 15 million people, again, they say that, yes, I come from this particular culture. And this is a very interesting fact that I didn't know about. There's less than 500,000 people in Mexico that they are considered with African descent, like, well, we would call here black. I don't have any people that I know that is black in Mexico, that are Mexicans. It's a very, very small population in Mexico. But if you go to other countries, that population might be much, much bigger. But that's pretty much the racial description of my country.
Thank you. Okay, would you like to?
Yes, show some. I just brought some pictures of Argentina, and I tell you where exactly I'm from. Well, that's the flag, and that's the main symbol of it.
Give you guys the clicker. So
okay, perfect. Yeah. And I just
I think you can actually change the slides too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
This is one of the southernmost countries in Latin America, in the Americas, along with Chile. Chile goes a little further south. Okay, so it's very, very far away from the United States, and this is one of the reasons, primarily, why the relationship between the United States and Argentina has not been so influential, so close. Okay. That's where I am from, La Plata, which is about 58 kilometers, 30 miles south of Buenos Aires. Okay, and it's a big university city. They have the University of La Plata. It's pretty big. It has thousands and thousands of people. And I went to the University of La Plata. I studied law there. I got a law degree, and then I worked as a lawyer for a few years until I realized law was not my call. And I left Argentina in the 1990s with my husband. I met my husband in Argentina, and we traveled for about 7 years to many parts of the world, and including many Latin American countries, such as Venezuela was one before Chavez, and and I also been to many of my neighboring countries, such as Brazil and Uruguay. I came here and I went back to school. I got a PhD in political science, and I've been here teaching political science since 2006. The ethnic makeup of Argentina is interesting. If you go back in history, around the 19th century, Argentina had a huge European immigration. In fact, the second largest European immigration after the United States. About 6 million people out of, there were probably about 10 million people in Argentina, living in Argentina in the 19th century. 6 million of those were foreign-born, primarily from European countries, and primarily from Italy and Spain, and some Germans came later, and the United Kingdom, and so on. So looking at the stats, they say, the stats, though I do not believe them very much, that Argentina is 85% European. And the CIA fact book, don't go there, it's not very factual. It says that it's 95% white European Argentina. Well, I do believe a really good study done by the University of Buenos Aires in the last few years. They did some DNA testing, and they found that about more than 50% of the population had indigenous blood in Argentina. All right, and I tend to believe more on that survey than on the other data that it tells you that you see in the internet. What is interesting about Argentina, and I think it's also interesting about many other Latin American countries, is that there's not a census based on race. So you're never going to actually have to fill out any paperwork saying that you are from a certain ethnicity, all right? So it's generally you just proclaim yourself to be whatever you want to be, really. But it was interesting. I had a friend from Argentina who came visit about 5 or 6 years ago. She's kind of light complected, blonde, and they were asking her where she was from, and she said, here in the US, and she would say, I'm from Argentina. And then the next question would be, so what is your inheritance? Because he couldn't believe she was from Argentina. And I said, and she was telling me, why do Americans keep asking me this? I don't know, she said. I have a little bit of Spanish, a little bit of Italian. I know I have some indigenous inheritance as well. But why are people so interested about knowing I am Argentine? That's it. I'm not, one thing or the other one. There's a good thing, though, in a way, to claim ethnicity, and especially for indigenous people, because the fact that we don't have a census has been a problem for the mobilization of indigenous people in Argentina, for example. So having that sense of saying you're in a group, a collective group that belongs to this indigenous tribe is great because they can actually mobilize on that name, being of a certain ethnic group. So there's a good thing about integration, which was the idea behind not having this census based on ethnicity in Argentina. But on the other hand, there's not a good thing because then ethnic groups, certain ethnic groups, cannot really mobilize on that basis. Okay. Well, that's it.
Did you want to show the video now?
Oh, actually, I'm going to show some of my pictures. This is Buenos Aires. Downtown Buenos Aires. I was just crossing the street and took a picture with my iPhone. That's the way I did it. This is a picture of me. This is a cemetery. Argentina has a very religious, background. The Pope is from Argentina, Pope Francis. So primarily Catholic.
So is Maradona and Messi.
That's what's coming next. That's what's coming next.
Trinity.
But if you go to that cemetery, it's amazing. The monuments there. I don't have pictures of that, but for Perón or for Evita, that you probably heard of them. They have incredible, beautiful monuments. This is a street that also in Buenos Aires. Can you see it? It's a little dark, or
well, the light, it's kind of bright up here, but I think you can see it well enough, right?
Yeah. No, it's Buenos Aires. What?
Corrientes?
No, Buenos Aires. Yeah, still one capital. Yeah, I didn't go to Corrientes. And this is what he was saying, and that's the way we actually spell football in Latin America. Football, not football. Okay. And also it's the birth of tango. I don't know whether you heard of tango. Gardel. He's telling me, the main singers, Carlos Gardel. And I have a little video here they want to watch. That if you want to watch, it's about a minute long. That actually talks about that. Actually, you see them dancing and at the same time playing with a ball, football. So let's see if I can do. Oh, how can I do that?
Probably from there.
Okay. It's a minute and a half, so it won't take me that long. This is San Telmo. It's one of the oldest neighborhoods in Buenos Aires. Oh, it doesn't have a volume. Can you hear the sound? There.
Here we go.
And maybe down there? You want to? Well, you can see the picture anyway. You know how they are playing with the ball at the same time dancing. Dancing tango is really hard. Can you imagine playing ball and dancing tango? Very complicated. It's really good music. The tango actually was born with Italian immigrants coming to a place called La Boca, and it was from the real, very poor immigrants that started to just dancing really close dancing, kind of sexy dancing. I don't know how to dance tango. No, I don't.
Not easy at all. Maybe you can always try.
Zero.
It's not easy at all.
No, I have 2 left feet, like we say.
Welcome.
So not all Latin Americans know how to dance well, okay?
First stereotype.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's the first
That's
one.
a stereotype.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. No.
When I
At
told
least,
them,
at least college professors.
oh yeah, when I told them I'm from Venezuela, but you dance? No.
Nope.
What? You don't dance? No.
You're the first one I met.
I don't drink tequila either.
See? No way.
No tequila for me.
No.
Oh, we can leave it for later if you
Okay,
want to.
that's what I thought. We'll wait
Yeah.
till Gary gets back.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, we can. So Jesus.
Here, yes. Hi. Okay. Well, my name, Jesus Canelon. Please, no Jesus.
No Jesus.
Let me tell you what happened once. I told Jorge once. what happened? I went to Starbucks, no? And then I told the cashier, she asked me my name, no? After I requested a drink. And I told her, Jesus. She wrote it down. But then the guy who prepared the drink, in front of everybody, Jesus. And everybody. Since that day on, I learned my lesson. Name, JC, my initials, Jesus Canelon. Even though, you know where you're going. Even though, you see? You see? Hey, a friend told me, but JC is Jesus Christ. Come on, give me a break. Please, give me a break.
Well, you're a really good guy, so.
Yeah, but I thought, well, it's not my fault. I was too young to decide my name. I mean, I had my granddad, my dad, my brother. I mean, the same name, but anyway. Well, I'm from Venezuela. We are quite well, my background is, I graduated in Venezuela. My background is in software engineering. I used to live in Barquisimeto. Don't try to repeat it. I know it's quite complicated to repeat that name of the city. I did my master in the same city in information systems. Then I worked for like 12 years for the Polytechnic University, also in the same city. And then just for life, I would say, I'm here. By then, my girlfriend, who's now my wife, she said in 2002, hey, you know what? I'm going to the US to study for 6 months English. That's all. 6 months. I'll be back. 6 months, 2002. Look where I'm here. Then, well, to make the long story short, there was a point in time where I told her, why you don't wait a little bit? Maybe I will apply for a PhD in the US. And I got accepted, and the rest is history. I'm here. And that's quite a case. And of course, I did my PhD in Information System and Technology from Claremont Graduate University in Claremont, California. It's 20 minutes east from Pasadena. You know, the Rose Bowl every January the 1st. Don't even try to go to Pasadena the last day of the year, on December 21st. Don't even try. Well, you can, but I doubt you're going to enjoy it because it's so crowded, it's impossible. But anyway, in terms of the mix in Venezuela, before 1910, pretty much, it was a very, very agricultural country. Basically, to my understanding, not too much mix with different guys from different cultures. Then, with the oil boom between the late 1910s and 1920, it changed the whole history of the country. The agricultural thing was going down, and then the oil went up. That's nowadays, in fact, is the number one source of revenue from the Venezuelan government, oil. No, not from the central of Venezuela. It's weird because the central of Venezuela, no oil at all. But if you go to the east, you go to the west, you go to the south, wherever you go, you will see. How do you say a balancine?
Oil pump.
Yeah.
Oil pump. Okay,
Oil pump.
an oil pump. Everywhere you go, you will see one of them. In terms of the country, I said we only have 2 seasons, warm and warmer. No, and I'm not kidding, but the first time in my life, I'm not kidding, honestly, the first time in my life that I saw the snow falling was here at UIS. I was 42 years old when I saw the snow. I spent 7 years in California, in LA, but come on. The coolest is 34, 36 degrees. For here, you say 36 and you say, oh, it's nice. There, 36, 34, oh, it's too cold. No? So, just figure. So, again, until 1910s, 1920s, agricultural country, then was oil country. Then, after the Second World War, World War, a lot of guys from people from from Spain, Italy, Portugal, number one. Also, people from well, basically after the Second World War was guys from these three countries. That is why it's so difficult to find now a Venezuelan that can say, I am 100% Venezuelan. And now, I have an example. My grandmother from Italy, from my mother's side. From my father's side, my grandmother from Italy. So, from my grandparents on, we all are from Venezuela. But if you go a little bit back, you see it's quite different. Also, there is people from China, from the Middle East, a little bit from German. In fact, there is a town called, well, let's say that in Spanish, Colonia Tovar. It's a city, a small town close to Caracas, the capital, like 2 hours maybe, less than that. But it's the architecture of that town is German, totally German. Really nice place to go. Regarding the Spanish, the culture from those countries, that is why, for example, I learned how to play soccer or football. Sorry. Mm-hmm. Then there is a point in time when you learn how to say here. But at the beginning it was like a football, and then soccer. Okay, I got it. But many of my friends or my parents, the parents of my friends, are from those countries. That is why I went to a Catholic school where once a month the mass was in Italian, no? And when my love for the football is because of them, my friends. When you have the break, no, what are you gonna do? Play soccer. Play football. Any free time, play football. No, and also I have part of my aunts. Now they went back they're living now in different parts of Spain. You know, I have parents from uncles from Spain and Italy, and now thanks to, you know what, I don't want to say that. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, we will talk about it later anyway. They're back in Europe. No, that is sad, totally sad. And that's it, basically, the background and so on.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening. My name is Patrick Guillermo Anderson Aviles. That's right here. And the reason I emphasize my full name is because in most Latin American countries, people are given 4 names instead of 3. The last of the names is like a homage, like in honor of your mother's name, who is a pretty important person in our lives. Am I right or not?
Yes.
And this difference is seldom seen in other Western nations. So I just wanted to mention that. Despite the fact that we have been very identified with a machismo culture. As far as my name, it sounds pretty American because Anderson is from my grandfather, actually, who was from Maine originally. But it has a lot to do with the history of my country. I don't know if there's any other nation in the world that exemplifies better the term banana republic like Honduras. And I don't say it, as an embarrassment. I was handed down this history by corrupt politicians and remarkably selfish entrepreneurs that went down there and do business. So my grandfather was part of that history. He went down in the early 1900s as an American adventurer or as a gringo loco. However, whoever's telling the story has to decide, not me. So there he worked, and then my father and then me, et cetera, et cetera. As far as the ethnic makeup of Honduras, this, I would say, it's extremely similar to what Dr. Villegas here was telling us about Mexico. Honduras is a nation with about 96% of the makeup being of mestizos. Mestizos are, like he said, a mixture of Spaniard with the local indigenous blood. Unfortunately, only about 6% of the makeup is still Amerindian. Okay, there is still several groups, but unfortunately, they are, having hard times with this new ruthless digital age, and I don't think much is going to be left of them if we don't change our ways, by the year 2050. The different groups are, and this would make very little of the population. And like I said, there is about 8 million Hondurans right now, and 6% of these would be Amerindian. And these include the Lencas, which live close to Guatemala in western Honduras. Chortis, the mosquitoes, live in northern Honduras. You might have heard of a famous book by Paul Thoreau called The Mosquito Coast. And the boat that he got in, actually, he got on that boat in my hometown. And the Lenca, the Chortis, Mosquito, Pech, Indians, the Tolupanes, Tahuancas, and the Garifunas. Besides the Amerindian, we also have a couple of black Amerindian tribes. Well, as a matter of fact, only one that I can call a tribe, which are the Garifunas, and they live along 47 villages on the northern coast of Honduras, where I am from. And around 100,000 of them live in Honduras. However, the diaspora has been so great to the United States that it's said that an equal number of Garifunas live in the Boston and New York areas, as a matter of fact. So that's a lot of people that have come to the United States. So in addition to the Garifuna blacks, we also have a small community of black speaking blacks. They call them Creoles, that came either from Jamaica or from Grand Cayman, Caribbean islands, some from Belize also. And as a matter of fact, they came to Honduras in the mid-1900s freely. They didn't come deported like the Garifunas did or as slaves. They came freely to work for the banana companies, who capitalized on their English and on their good English education that they had gotten in Grand Caymans and in Jamaica. So they worked for the banana companies as clerks, and accountants, and they a lot of times commanded better status than a lot of the local population, because they had those English speaking skills needed to work for the banana companies that the native people of Honduras didn't have. And this is a major part of the history, the banana companies, which, of course, they've done their things. And I'm not going to go into that. There's thousands of books written about it. So there you have it in a nutshell, the composition, the ethnic composition of Honduras, Central America. La palabra para mi compañero Rowan Darío.
Muchas gracias. Well, good afternoon. You're going to have to excuse me, but my voice is kind of very strong. My name is Rubén Darío Gómez González. 2 names and 2 last names. For the same reason as the gentleman he said, it gives you a status, especially to the ladies that get married in our countries, especially Guatemala. I was born up in the highlands of Guatemala. I'm a son of 2 Mayans. My mother spoke Mayan, my father as well, and I belong to a family of 18 children. I'm the last one of 18 children. You have to remember that in the highlands of Guatemala, first of all, at that time there was no television. And if we had television, the advertisements were too long. Anyway, the important thing here is that I came to Guatemala City due to the fact that my father died, and we were so many in the family, and my uncle used to be a merchant. He used to buy goods here, sell them over there, and he was an incredible person for business. And obviously, I was not exactly the best of his merchandise, and that's why he left me in Guatemala City with one of his girlfriends. Unfortunately, at that time, I started to drink. Just about right now, I have 26 years without drinking. That means it was a very, very hard days for me. Therefore, I only came from Chichicastenango with 3 years of formal school. And I have never been in school ever since. The things, the experiences, the knowledge that I have, especially in languages, had come to me through my skin, not through the books, if you know what I mean. I'm not trying to feel sorry for myself. No. Believe me, I feel proud of being here with you. I'm still shaking because I didn't know I was going to be here and sitting in this table. I'm not sitting in this table. I'm kidding. Anyway, Guatemala is a country in Central America, the very first country in Central America, with approximately 15 million of inhabitants, distributed in approximately 5 million Mayans. We speak 22 different Mayan languages. I speak 2 of them. And we also have approximately 149 different native dresses. The population is distributed like this, as I mentioned, there's 5 million Mayans, and then we have about 1.5 million of mestizos. The mixture that the gentleman was talking about, which is the mixture of Spanish and Maya, or Spanish and Ladino. And then Ladinos, we have approximately 3 million. What is a Ladino? Ladino is the person, in my case, would be me. Mayans that had come from the highlands, and they got the way of living of the city, but they are still Mayans. The only thing that they have changed their native dress, they have changed their habits, they have changed everything that they had in the highlands. And then we have maybe 500,000 criollos. Criollos are people who have born from 2 Spanish persons. Okay, that is more or less the population of Guatemala. The size of the city, of the country is 108,998 square kilometers. That is, to give you an idea, I pick up Guatemala, I'm not going to let it go. I can pick up Guatemala and put it within the United States, we will fit within Tennessee state. Just to give you an idea. That's how small it is. Today, I am very happy. And I am very happy because I can share this with you. Something that happened in my country 7 days ago. Things had been so bad in Guatemala the corruption had been an incredible in all different in the stratification of the country. It's a matter of the fact, 32 of members of the government were involved in one of the biggest corruption matters in Guatemala. And for the first time in our history, Mayans walked from different parts of Guatemala. There millions of Mayans came without throwing a piece of a stone, without kicking anybody. They came to the front of the National Palace and asked the president to resign. And he had to do it. He had to do it because Mayans are tired of being taken advantage of. Now, Mexico, which is our neighbor, and El Salvador, I saw somebody in El Salvador that said, if Guatemala could, we also can. I'm not trying to tell you that the country is, believe me, Guatemala is the most beautiful country in the world. Tiny, but it has the most beautiful scenery. I am a tour guide. I've been a tour guide for 40 years, and that's the reason I speak 5 languages. But, unfortunately, we are who had killed our country. By the way, the gentleman who was the president, his name was Otto Perez. Otto Perez Molina, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. I didn't want to say the name because I get choked. And many ministers were involved in that particular corruption. And there are many things that I would like to share with you, but the most important things is that we got rid of that guy. It's incredible, but I feel, and with all respect, I feel very, very proud of being with you here and with you folks. Believe me, I never thought of coming to the United States, let alone be here talking to you. I really am shocked about how the beautiful people are here. They have been treating me very well. I only been, this time I've been here 12 days. I'm leaving the 21st because I have to go to Guatemala. I work there. Thank you very much, and we'll continue in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you. So thank you all for all of those really interesting answers, and I think that we can definitely say that we can dispel the stereotype that Latin America is homogenous in terms of ethnicity and culture. We have obviously representatives from pretty much all over the world, Europe, Africa. Patrick didn't mention, but in Honduras, there's also a large portion of the population from immigrants from Palestine and the Middle East. So pretty, and Asia, they're from all over the world. There are immigrants to Latin America that are still living there and have many generations in those countries today. So now we're going to switch gears a little bit and look at political and social movements. And our questions, we have 3 questions. Again, you can choose if you want to answer all of them or which one, but they deal with foreign policy and political issues within the countries. So the questions are, how has U.S. foreign policy or that of any other foreign nation shaped your country's history? How has this led to immigration to the United States? And what are the main social or political issues affecting your country today? And we'll start here with Jorge.
It will take forever for you.
Oh, well, I'll keep it short. So basically, first of all, let me start by saying that the last dictator in Mexico, Porfirio Diaz, last century, he said that poor Mexico, so far from heaven, so close to the United States. And basically the point is that, particularly in the last century, we suffer a lot from United States policies. Just to give you an example, probably you know from your history lessons that Mexico owned a little piece of land called Texas, you know, and another one called California.
New Mexico.
So imagine if that didn't happen, we would have Apple in Mexico, you know, manzana. Would be the name. But anyway, the first part of the history between Mexico and the United States was pretty much confrontational. Basically, the United States taking territory. Fun fact: what is the only army from another country that has invaded the United States? Mexico. Mexico has been the only army that has ever invaded the United States. So keep that in mind. No, it won't happen. Believe me, it won't happen. We are not interested in any of that for political and many issues. So at first it was very adversarial, this relationship that we had with the United States. And I think that starting in the 1950s and so on, we realized the importance of working together. A large number of Mexicans started to migrate to the United States. And basically, if you want to have a picture of where we are right now, I think that for one side we have economic integration via NAFTA. Help me with this one.
North American Free Trade Agreement.
With the free trade agreement between Canada, the United States, and Mexico, and in many other ways. Just to give you an idea of how integrated the Mexican economy with the United States, I have the numbers here. 48% of imports. Okay, let me see. Oh no, this is even better. 80% of exports, that is what Mexico creates and manufactures, 80% goes to the United States. 80. Think about if you own a business that 80% of your business goes to one client, and for us it's the United States. So basically we need to have a good relationship with the United States just because, for economic reasons. And the other way around is very similar. 45% of imports to the United States go to Mexico on those numbers. So again, the United States is a great client for Mexico, but Mexico is also a great client for the United States from the commercial side. So economic integration is a big issue. As you can imagine, the other two big issues, one is migration, that is the legal and illegal immigration. Another fun fact, and I was floored by this number, 300 million legal crossings a year. Let me repeat that. 350 million people or crossings, because one person can go back and forth, right? So, but legal, not illegal, legal crossings. That border, through that border goes 350 million crossings. You know, that means that one person can live in the Mexican side and work in the American side and come back and forth. But just think about that. The whole United States goes in and out, so to speak, in 1 year, just to give you an idea of the size of the relationship between the United States and Mexico. Again, migration is a big issue, as you can imagine. It's in the news very constantly. Another issue that has been important for all of us is drugs. You know, the violence that has created and the inequalities that it has created in Mexico. The war on drugs has been a tremendous impact in Mexico and Latin America, I would say, in general. It has a terrible impact on all of us, from the number of guns that are in our countries to the instability sometimes that these drug lords can create in cities, in a state. Probably not at the federal level, but they can be very problematic at the level of local governments, at least. Let me think what else. And if you look at migration, and by the way, don't believe the hype that migration is becoming a worse and worse problem, particularly illegal. The numbers are actually It's going the other way around. As the United States has been in some kind of economic depression, people don't move here. They don't move here because it's nice. This is not because they want to work at the Walt, they want to go to Walt Disney World. Believe me. They want to find a job, and if there are no jobs here, they stay in their country. There's no magic here. They are not here for anything else but to find a job. They don't find a job here. Crossing the border is becoming more and more dangerous. They stay in Mexico. As simple as that. So the numbers, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the trend looks that is, going in the other way. But still, migration is important. We are the largest population in the minority population in the United States, still growing for sure. But it's not, this huge problem that is killing the United States. Again, it's reducing, and most of this migration has been positive, and quite a bit by legal people. The problem is that in the media it's all about the legal part and how dangerous we are and so on and so forth. And it's part of is real, but most of it is based on this hype that people want to create. That and I understand it. I believe me, I understand why people have these fears. But that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about for the moment.
So can I go back to one of my pictures?
Yes.
The second. I can go. Yeah, back. Let me see. Not that one. That's me. I don't want to. There. Okay. There. I just wanted to show you how far Argentina is from the United States. So you can gather from that the relationship between Argentina and the United States was never really close. Argentina was primarily had a closer relationship with its neighbors, particularly Brazil, Chile, Bolivia, Paraguay, and Uruguay, which is called the Southern Cone countries because it's the shape of a cone, and also some European countries, particularly Italy, because I told you there are many Italians that came to Argentina. I'm also Italian. Io parlo italiano un poco, non molto, but my family migrated from Italy because Italy was doing very badly after the Second World War, so that's why they came to Argentina, seeking for a better life, like immigrants do all over the world. So the relationship, though, with Latin American countries was not always really positive. We had dictatorships in Argentina. I'm not sure whether you heard about the Dirty War in the 1970s, a horrible killing of what they were allegedly communist young men and women, and it was never proven that they were up in arms at all, who disappeared. And that's about almost 30,000 people, okay, in a period from 1976 to 1983, all right? Primarily during the earlier period. But Argentina also, because of this military regime that was brutal, also had very bad relationships with its neighbors at the time. With Brazil, for example, there was some kind of a regional arms race. They also had a dictatorship at the time, military regimes. And Argentina has nuclear power, not nuclear weapons, and Brazil too. And many were arguing that Argentina and Brazil were trying to build nuclear weapons at the time. Since democracy, they have signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, so there's no, and at this time, at least, there's no intention by these countries to build any nuclear weapons. In fact, Latin America signed the Tlatelolco Agreement back in the 1960s, and it's the only region in the world that's nuclear free. Okay, you have no nuclear weapons in Latin America. Okay. The relationship with Chile was not much better. Back in 1978, the Argentine dictatorship with the Chilean dictatorship almost went to war. Okay, the Pope at the time was the arbitrator and prevented the war. There was also another war with the UK in 1982 over little tiny small islands that you see down there, the Islas Malvinas in Argentina, Falkland Islands in English, all right? Was horrible. If I had been a boy, I would have gone to that war. Okay, yeah. But the issue here is that's when the United States did actually help out with selling weapons to Latin American countries, including Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Bolivia, Paraguay, who had dictatorships, brutal dictatorships. Okay, the idea was to fight communism, and that was the reason why guns were sold to these countries, all right, to fight the alleged communist guerrillas, okay? Since democratization back in 1983, the situation in Argentina has been quite different, and also the relationships with other Latin American countries have improved dramatically. As well with the United States, more or less, depending on the leader, in turn. And the leader we have right now, Cristina Kirchner, it's more with Venezuela than with Argentina, with the United States. Right? Very good friend of the Venezuelan government, and also Evo Morales in Bolivia and Correa in Ecuador. Regarding immigration, because the United States didn't have much of a relationship with Argentina, migrants, many of the Argentines who left because either they were expelled from Argentina during the Dirty War, all right, many left before getting killed. They went to Europe. Because there are so many ties with European countries, they generally went to France or Italy or Spain and so on. I was looking at numbers because I had no idea how many Argentine immigrants are here in the U.S. In fact, I don't know anybody from Argentina. But there are about 240,000 immigrants from Argentina in the U.S., in the whole country. Most of them live in Florida, Miami, of course. I know there is a little place in Miami called Little Buenos Aires, and they're like half of the Argentine immigrants are in Miami. They came in the 1990s, and the reason why they came in the 1990s is because then there was not a visa requirement for Argentines to come to the U.S. For a period of about 8 years. Argentines could come to the U.S. without a visa. Okay, you can ask me why, and I could answer later on, but that was probably the reason why. And many of them either are in Miami or in California, so they go for the good weather, okay? They're not going to come to Chicago, and that's probably why I haven't met anybody from Argentina here. Okay.
Okay. In the case of the influence of the U.S. foreign policy in Venezuela, I would say that it started basically after the oil boom in the 1920s, basically when they first come up, the Shell, the Netherlands company, Shell, then came Exxon, or I think it was Mobil, and this type of oil companies. I do remember when I was a kid that when you go to the west of Venezuela, for me it was quite different. No, I mean when you go to the neighborhoods, where the people of the oil company lived. First were U.S. citizens working in Venezuela, then slowly were Venezuelan people was working on the oil company and living in those houses. And for me it was very weird to see those, don't get me wrong, those houses made of wood. And I said, what? Wood? Really? Okay. I mean, the architecture is quite different than the rest of the country, no? And the way of living of the big supermarkets and so on was there. For me, it was totally new. But always, well, not always, I cannot say that. But for many years, the relationship between U.S. and Venezuela was good. Until, you know when, some guy won the presidency on 1998, no? And since that day on, I'm talking about Hugo Rafael Chavez Frias. This is the only time in my life, probably, that I'm going to say his name, his full name. And when he won, for him, everything that happens that is bad in Venezuela is because of U.S. No matter what. No matter what, who's the blame? U.S. Period. That's easy. And since then, the relationships has been really bad. Even though, as Jorge mentioned, for us, U.S. is our best business partner. I don't know what percentage, to be honest, but I'm pretty sure that a high percentage of the oil production in Venezuela, where it goes, here, U.S. Even though the Venezuelan government is always saying, the U.S., they're the devil, they're okay, but you're still selling the oil to them. So just, and don't sell anything. But of course, they need the money, no? So in terms of the influence of the U.S., I'm going to give you just one simple example. Oh, yes. In all these 4 countries, ask them, what's sport number 1?
Soccer.
Football. Simple. Ask me, what's sport number 1?
Baseball.
Baseball. I'm very proud of it, by the way. I'm very proud. It's like in pretty much in the rest of Central and South America, you see the kids playing soccer in any corner, any field, any place. Well, the same is exactly in Venezuela, but baseball. When I was a kid, I was playing baseball with the bat. This is the bat, the glove. Here you have it. The ball, rubber ball like this size. We used to play before going to school from 7. The school started at 8, so we played from 7 to 8. No, and then the lunchtime, play it again. So baseball is no question about sport number 1. That's why you see so many Venezuelan players in the U.S. No, to mention one, Miguelito is the way how we call him in Venezuela, but Miguel Cabrera. Miguelito is Triple Crown 2 years ago. Pablo Sandoval from the Boston Red Sox, who was with the Giants. We have quite one of the, probably our second Hall of Fame, or Marvis Gale, the shortstop from the Cleveland Indians for a bunch of years, for the San Francisco Giants. As you see, baseball is in our blood, is in my blood. For me, it's baseball. It's very exciting for me to talk about baseball. In terms of what is the Venezuelan immigration going, basically, well, as in the case of Adriana, some of them are going, as I mentioned before, to Europe because of the ties they have with their grandparents and so on. They have the European passport, and they can go to Europe. Other ones come to the U.S. The highest population of Venezuelans you will find where? Florida, Miami, basically. Why? Because for us, it's the closest. It's 3-hour flight from Caracas to Miami. In any other place, to find Venezuelans, it's like, what? You here? I haven't been there. The only thing that I know of Miami is the airport, up and down. But every time I go to Venezuela, I have to go through Miami. No. But I was told there are places in Miami, or not in Miami, in Florida, for example, Westonzuela, or Doralzuela. You know why? No, there are a lot of Venezuelans there. And also the proximity, the language. No? This is sad for me to talk about it, but in terms of, even though it's not, why the reason why the people is immigrating to different countries? I just read this morning, just in the capital, Caracas, just in the capital, during the first 14 days of this month, 100 has been registered in the morgue, 188 deaths.
Oh.
Just in the capital. Just in the capital. 188. The whole year? No. The 14 days of September. Okay? So when the people tell me, and don't get me wrong because of what I want to say, we live in a violent country. Okay. Whatever you say. But 187 deaths just in Caracas. Now, or death, or at least you are robbed, or whatever. The day before I came to US when I got this job, the day before, I'm not lying, the day before, I went to the bank to get $500 in cash. I went out of the bank and I was walking to the parking lot, like a block away. When I was getting to my mom's car by them, I turned around, I felt something, and I turned around. And I saw the guy. You know what he showed me, right? And he said with these words, "Give me the $500 that you just got on the bank. Take it. Count it if you want." I got in my backpack, my passport, I have everything in my backpack. I said, geez, if this guy got my passport, I'm dead. I can't. Just to give an example. Also, before you heard about robberies and these kind of things, because the friend of a friend of a friend. Now, no. It's you, my aunt, my uncle, my cousin, my nephew. The same about immigration. Years ago, before this government, migration, every now and then, the friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. Now, it's my cousin, my friend, It's the same thing, exactly the same. Give me just a second. It's not about US, but about the US government in particular. When this guy won in '98, there's another story, but when he and his group appeared, let's say, was on February the 4th, 1992. He was the leader of the coup. Of the coup? Is that the word? Coup? The coup, sorry. The coup was in the morning, and I was living with my mom by then, and knocked me at the door, like at 4 a.m. in the morning. "Hey, Jesus, wake up, what happened?" This is a coup. "A what?" "Trust me, I'm not lying, please." I was thinking, is this a nightmare or what? Because since I born, Venezuela was a dictatorship quite a few, but the last one was from 48 to 58, Marcos Pérez Jiménez was the guy. And from 58 on, democracy, all the time, until February 4th, 1992. When that day, hey, I'm not saying because I saw it on YouTube. No. These eyes, these two. I used to live in a 12-floor building close to the airport, and I saw that day, around 2 p.m. in the afternoon, the plane going this, drop something, doing this, 3-4 seconds later, boom. The same airplanes of the Venezuelan Air Force dropping bombs to the same guys. It's something that I say, and that is why I never believed in those guys. For me, it was impossible to believe in those guys. Even though, don't get me wrong, maybe one of you say, I agree with those guys. Perfect. You're free to think whatever you want to think. But I saw that. So I cannot trust in a people, in a guy, where the government give them, trust them to save the country, and you use it against us? No way. Was brothers versus brothers. Just to give you just one example of that day. Just one simple example. And then those guys are always saying, because we, come on, look behind you. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And those guys, I don't want to talk about, but it's really sad. Now I never thought that I'm gonna see. Well, I haven't seen that, but my mom told me. My mom was here 3 weeks ago. My mom told me. My mom is not my friend. My mom. Now to buy things, simple things. To go to the supermarket, you have to do a line, and based on the last digit of your driver license. For example, my mom is Fridays. My mom told me the last Friday she was in the supermarket from 7 a.m. until 1 p.m. Okay? To be able to buy those basic products. My mom told me, hey, the supermarkets are empty. Mm-hmm. Empty. And the question is, how it can be possible in a country where, for example, just to mention from Chavez on, from 98, the barrel of oil reached the $150. Do you remember? Well, I was in California by then, but I remember that I was paying a gallon of gas $4.5 per gallon. 4.5 per gallon. No? So how much money has the Venezuelan government received just from 1998 on? And where is the money? If you go there, do you see any new building, any new infrastructure, any? No. Where is the money? I can tell you. Simple. Simple. Number one, Cuba. Oh, geez, Cuba. Number one. They have preferred agreements with Venezuela, where they get oil from Venezuela very cheap, and then they resell it. They resell it market price. No? Just to mention just one little thing. But it's also the money. Oh, geez. Ask Evo Morales. Ask Danielito Correa in Ecuador. Ask
Mel Zelaya.
Cristinita.
Mel Zelaya in Honduras.
Oh, geez. Please, come on. How can I? Oh, sorry. Celayita is so nice. Daniel Ortega in Nicaragua. Mm-hmm. I mean, you go. It's amazing how things are changing. Yes, but for bad. And the government always say the communists we all have to be ba 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 ba. But look at them. Look what they're wearing. Look at the watches, purses. Oh, Chanel. Or I mean, the best brands that you can find, they have it. For vehicles, for vehicles. The one of those guys. He said, "Well, we need to buy the vehicles, the Chinese vehicles, the small ones, blah blah blah, because of revolution." But what car he drives? Audi or a Hammer.
Wow.
Yeah, a Hammer. Of course, the gas in Venezuela is. This is a liter of water is at least, I'm not lying, 100, 200 times more expensive than a liter of gasoline, or oil, excuse me. I say gasoline, but 1 liter of oil. But, I mean, this is quite a thing that and again, for me, it's really hard to see how the country is going down. We were talking before the presentation. I don't know if you heard the case of Leopoldo Lopez. Leopoldo Lopez was one of the governors of some of the states in Venezuela a few years ago. Then, yes. And now, well, to make a long story short, he was sentenced to 13 years, 9 months in jail because he just was in a protest. Meanwhile, the murderers of some sort of a Miss Venezuela, what it happened like 2-3 years ago, 5 years in jail. 5 years for a murder. But Leopoldo Lopez, because he was protesting, 13 years, 9 months. And the fear they have is that that's what the people in Venezuela think, that they say that Leopoldo will be the next president. That's what they say. I'm not the one the best to agree or not on that, but that's what they say. So I trust me, I can keep talking for hours, but no, that's enough.
Thank you.
That's one commonality that Latin Americans have. We are very passionate about politics.
Okay, how has U.S. foreign policy or that of any foreign nation affected or shaped your country's history? And I have here that perhaps the two foreign nations which have affected us the most in relation to foreign policy have been Spain and the U.S., of course. The Spanish might have been good conquistadors, but not necessarily very good administrators. One thing that they did and that we inherited from them was the latifundista system, whereas before the Indians used to not own anything, or basically the land belonged to everyone. The Spanish came and the land belongs to one person, you know. So this system has certainly disrupted wealth, because, you know, land is one of definitely the best means to create and retain wealth. You know, you inherit land, you can buy it, you can sell it, and the people in land most of the time never devalues. Land increases in value as time elapses. However, Latin America is very selfish in that aspect. Just in Brazil was not colonized by the Spanish, but the Portuguese system was extremely similar to the Spanish. They're neighbors, as a matter of fact, back in Europe. So, according to NPR, the other day I heard a very interesting statistic, and you could apply this perhaps to all of Latin America. Not necessarily in the same numbers, but probably very similar ones. And they said that 40% of rural Brazil, and I'm talking about Brazil, I don't know if you have any geographical idea of how huge
It's up there.
Brazil is. There you have it. Okay.
Wow.
So 40% of rural Brazil is owned by only 1.4% of the people. So the inequality is massive, you know. That means that you cannot inherit land to your children. You know, those children won't have anything to begin with. So that is horrible. And that's one thing that certainly has created inequality in Latin America. I'm sure of that. Another foreign policy that has done a lot of damage lately has been the war on drugs. I'm not going to get into it that much because he already talked about it. But due to the war on drugs, most of Latin America and Honduras primarily has been labeled the murder capital of the world. And we live that with my wife, with Sophia. We live there. The numbers of violence every day are staggering. You know, I'm sure Mexico lives a similar situation. So does Guatemala and Venezuela as well. So a lot of this has to do with the war on drugs. You know, we put the corpses in a way. We can contribute with the corpses, but you guys get the cocaine. That cocaine is all coming to the U.S., you know, and over there, that's where we get the violence, you know, and that violence is just brutal. The resurgence or perhaps a creation of huge cartels, you know, in Central America, because when the war on drugs had some success in Colombia, the cartels simply moved up, you know, northward towards Central America, and that's what we have right now. So that has been really terrible and created a lot of violence and inequality. Like I said, you hear about that stuff every day. There is one nation, however, that I'd like to talk about this just to give it a different spin, something that you might not know about. A nation that has a lot of influence in Honduras is a tiny nation of Taiwan. believe it or not. Taiwan, Honduras has been recognizing Taiwan as the Republic of China for the past, I don't know, 40, 50 years. I'm not sure when Taiwan was created. But it so happens that Taiwan, besides bringing into Honduras a lot of aid, foreign aid in the form of agricultural programs, et cetera, there is rumors that they seriously bribe the politicians so that they recognize Taiwan in the United Nations as the official Republic of China. You probably know about this. What creates a lot of mystery behind it is that the only nations that still do this are, most of them, a bunch of tiny and a lot of underdeveloped nations. And there's a list of around 22 of these nations, including most of Central America, some countries in South America, tiny islands throughout the Caribbean, and interestingly enough, the Vatican. That doesn't make any sense, does it? The Vatican, why? The Vatican they have a bank, okay, that has served traditionally, believe it or not, to hide fortunes from shady governments and shady people from all over the world, okay? So once you find that out, then you realize that Taiwan has a hidden agenda. Another thing that gives it away is that Costa Rica, that leads development in the area, because it's by far the nation in Central America that is doing best in terms of social indicators, if you want to call them that, is Costa Rica. So they declined the offer by Taiwan, to vote for them in the next upcoming United Nations meeting. And Costa Rica said, Oscar Arias, who was a Nobel Prize winner, the president of Costa Rica, finally one day, like 5 years ago, said, no more Taiwan. We're not going to have any more of this. Okay? And now Costa Rica is trading with the real China. Okay? And the reason why I bring this is I just would like to know, in terms of stats and numbers, perhaps how much damage has it created to our economy not to trade with the second largest economy in the world? Why can't we be a friend of both? And why do we have to keep siding with Taiwan if the United States, is China's biggest partner? Why can't we be? What is happening? So to give it another spin and to tell you guys another story about Central America, and rather than go into the war on drugs and U.S. foreign policy and the banana scandals, etc., I'm going to leave you with that question. What's going on with Taiwan, and why can't we trade with China?
It's very difficult to talk about these particular topics because Guatemala have the same problem. Unfortunately, Taiwan was helping us. It's a matter of fact, from Guatemala to Puerto Barrios, we have a huge 300 kilometers. And Taiwan offered the government of Guatemala to help to build a 4-line highway. Unfortunately, only about 62 of those 300 kilometers were built because somehow the magician of the government disappeared the rest of the money. They are very, no, believe me, they are very, very, very well in that. As a matter of the fact, our vice president, which was a woman, she created what they call la bolsa económica. And la bolsa económica was a bag of a couple of pounds of salt, couple of pounds of sugar, some oats, some little things, and he started to give it to the poor people. The only thing that they caught that particular bag in almost the equivalent to $13. And when they started to count what is in it, it didn't arrive to 5. So this is one of the ways of the corruption in Guatemala. Unfortunately, the person who robbed the money, which was a president, current president, Alfonso Portillo. Is anybody taping this? No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. I'm going to be a dead man tomorrow, but that's all right. He disappeared that amount of money which was going to be used for that particular road, and now he is running for congressman. Alfonso Portillo. In other words, we have Guatemala is a democratic country with flexible democracy. And so flexible that nowadays the person who won the election, it is a comedian. It's a comedian. But it's better a comedian than a thief. That's the way I look at it. That's the way I look at it. Believe me, Guatemala is an incredible rich country. The problem is that since 1524, which was when the Spaniards arrived, they put as a law the latifundios. The latifundios were pieces of huge land who belonged to ever kill the Mayans who were there. I cannot tell you they own it because the Mayans did not own the land because they didn't have titles, but they lived there. The problem is, okay, now we have a title and you get out of here. Either you work for me or I kill you. Remember, the Spaniards came in 1524. Mayans did not speak Spanish. Mayans were half nudes. They were animals. They were animals. And as a matter of fact, I have documents that said that they were marked with iron, very, very hot iron in their backs, like cows. In other words, that particular flexible democracy has been for ages in my country. For ages. What happened? Why the Mayans had to, or the people in Guatemala had to emigrate to the United States? Because the last massacre done in my country was in 1996. So you're talking about problems, political problems. We have very recent and big political problems. Mayans, it's a matter of fact, here we are, that the Mayans have, the different ethnic groups, they have one day a year that they have patron saint celebrations. These patron saint celebrations, obviously, every guy 18, 15, 16 years old, they get their best shirt or the best pants and probably boots, and he goes to dance with the girls. But what happened? Here is the government coming in different ways with trucks, kidnap these children. These children, we're talking about 14, 15, 16 years old. bring them down to Guatemala City, brainwash them, and put them to kill each other with another ethnic group. Language-wise, there was no communication. Sak arik ut matyosh aruach una uts ipetik rekunok el kunam. Do you understand? No. It's exactly what happened. Divide and you win. That's exactly what's happening. And nowadays, still we are speaking 22 different Mayan languages in Guatemala. And that's the biggest weapon that the government has. Divide people. They started to walk because there were leaders now, Mayan leaders, that they talk to the people. And that's why they make a huge demonstration to throw away our beautiful president. I would like to tell you so many things. Like, for example, what had United States being important in good or bad way in my country. 1902, I want to tell you to my friend from Honduras, we also belong to the Banana Republic area. There were huge plantations of banana. But the central government, the central banana office were in Boston, Massachusetts. Right? And they started to buy pieces of land in Guatemala. Unfortunately, they started to use pesticides that was killing Mayans, that was killing people. And what happened? There was Jacobo Arbenz Guzman, one of the presidents in Guatemala, that started to see that. And he started to expropriate the land from United States people. What happened? 2 months later, there was one plane that went very close to the National Palace of Guatemala and lit a bomb. I'm not pointing out nobody. I'm just telling you the history. It's part of our history. Why people had come over here? Because there no work over there. 5% of the population owns 75% of the fertile soil. And it's lazy soil because they don't work it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're going to, we're going to skip the last questions and open for questions, and then maybe give each panelist a brief closing remarks, if you like. So why don't we go ahead and open up to questions from the audience? Anybody?
Kind of point out the elephant in the room. I know, you all kind of came to the U.S. And then part of Hispanic Heritage Month is breaking down those myths, those barriers, and all of us come from, not just from Mexico, and we're all different in that sense. So, what are, when kind of integrating into the American culture, what are some common myths or preconceptions that you kind of had to dispel as you've gone into your professional career?
May I start? People ask me why I usually dress with a tie and a coat. It's because I want to look professorial, not janitorial. So I don't want to be confused. The people say, "Hey, come on, clean this over here." And again, I don't take any ill will towards people. That's in a joking manner. I say that's why I don't run in the supermarket, because Mexican running in the supermarket means that he's stealing something, right? So again, I get it. So that's always an issue, and I think it happens in every country on the world. I don't think this is unique from the United States. That is difficult to understand the other, whoever is the other culture, whoever is different than you. It's hard, if you talk about in Mexico, we say, oh, these horrible Americans, they mistreat Mexicans so bad. What about Mexicans? How we discriminate against people from Guatemala? I can assure you it happens every day. So it happens everywhere. So I think that's the important thing, that you have to be aware. You are different. And it's fine, and how you can break that, that barrier created. It happens. We are human. We like people that look like us. As simple as that. That's human nature. Look at every study that you want, and it's the truth. It's basically how it is. So through education, through understanding, and by being in places like this, talking to each other. I learned so much from all of you today. I'm amazed that, I feel ashamed of me. I don't know anything about Latin America. That's why we're here. That's what higher education excels at creating these environments, that they're, unique.
Yeah, just to add to that, because I agree 100% with what he said. But in my case, my personal case, I became, when I came to the U.S., if you know me other than here, you know that I'm very extroverted and I talk a lot. Well, I didn't used to be that way. I used to be very introverted. When I came to the U.S., because I was so self-conscious about my accent, and that I just prefer not to talk. I hated calling. When I was talking on the phone, I hated it. I said I prefer just to talk to somebody in person than on the phone. But it took me a few years, because you come from a country where you are just like everyone else, and all of a sudden you're not. You're just you're different, and it takes a while to realize that you're different. And I would say it took me about 4 or 5 years to become a really extroverted person again, and not caring about how I sound. And if they don't understand me, I repeat exactly what you're asking me. It doesn't matter to me. And in a way, I like the fact that I'm different. And I actually used to not like it. Now I actually enjoy being different. I think it's good being different. I think it brings diversity to any kind of environment, including especially the university.
Anyone else?
Digan, señores.
I don't think you were introverted, ever.
I don't know what you mean.
Quiet.
Well, believe it or not, in English and speak a little bit less.
Oh, yes.
No, really. No, yeah. I mean, in Spanish, it's a little bit different. Because, as you said, we're different. Don't get me wrong. At the end of the day, we're all humans, and no matter what, we're the same. But I do understand that sometimes, based on your accent, maybe some person don't know where I'm from. But as soon as I say just my name, simple, this guy is not from here, period. No? Just from that point on, they know that no matter what. But I do understand as well that I am the one who's coming from outside to here. I understand that. And I cannot pretend from the people here that like me or understand me or whatever the way I am. I am the one who's coming. I'm trying to adapt. I would say that I'm still trying to adapt. One of the things, and I was talking to my students this afternoon before coming here in the online class, after the recording, I told them, hey guys, I understand that talking for us is a huge part of our job, especially when teaching online, come on. And I don't know, it's hard to maybe believe me, but since February up to June, this year, I took like 15, 18 hours of one-on-one English classes for accent reduction or pronunciation. I don't know if it worked or not. I told my instructor, hey, I don't know, because I cannot ask people, hey, I'm speaking better? I cannot say that.
No.
But what I can tell you is that at least I feel more confident. That I still have issues on my pronunciation and so on, of course, until the day I pass away. I came here way too old. I understand that, but at least I'm trying to be part of, no? And it is an ongoing process. University is a different world, because university, for example, in my case, MIS department, we are like 12, 13, and only one person, only one instructor is from here. Only one. Everybody else, China, Taiwan. He said he's from Taiwan. Iran. Well, of course, one David Larson from the U.S., France, and me. Just imagine, just one person, David Larson, is the only one he's from the U.S. Everybody else from outside. But outside UIS, that's another story. Because, well, for example, when you go to Target or you go to any place, or at least that's the way how I feel it. When I heard someone talking in Spanish, for example, what is that person? Who is that person? At least here. Meanwhile, if you go for a bigger cities, they say, for example, in Los Angeles, you can walk 2 blocks and you can hear easily 4 different languages in 2 blocks. I mean, that's the kind of things that you need to learn, to adapt, to talk, to behave, even though the behavior is pretty much similar, but even though there are some customs that are not the same, just one simple. When I came for first time here, the way how Adriana knows, when you meet someone, you give a kiss on the chin, no? And for I guess in Argentina it's the same, no? So is that the way? And when I came here for first time,
You got in trouble.
my wife introduced me to a lady, no, the job. I was safe because she was from Mexico. Hey, hi, Patricia. I say hi, nice to meet you, and I give a kiss in the chin. And my wife,
Chick.
On the cheek, excuse me. You see, I'm learning. And my wife told me, I said, what happened? What's wrong with this? No, here you cannot do that. And now this is something quite simple, but you need to learn the just hi. That's it. In Venezuela, hey, hi. Simple.
Whether you know or you don't know the person.
No, even you don't know the person,
Yeah.
but you do it. But again, this is just part of those little things that you have to even learn, just even how to introduce yourself. Just even that. But again, I understand that I'm the one who's coming here. We need to learn, but also it's good for all of us, I would say, when you have the opportunity to interact with people from different countries, because sometimes, don't get me wrong, people think that everywhere else outside the US is the same as here. And no, it isn't. Trust me, it isn't. And I was saying to my students, you should be proud of what you have, you should keep what you have. One of the best ways to learn it is going outside and see how it goes. That's the best way.
Okay, anybody else want to answer the question?
Or does anybody else have a question?
Any other questions? Oh, so we'll go here, then we'll go there.
I have a question for the doctor from Argentina.
Yeah.
When you were talking to us, you told us you didn't have much interaction with the United States, or you don't have much interaction with the United States. I was wondering if you think that you would benefit with more contact from the United States currently, whether it be like trade or...
Yeah, actually, there has been some attempts at more trade. It depends on the leadership. During the 1990s, as I told you, when Argentines did not need a visa to come here, one of the reasons was an increased trade with, it was a government of George Bush father. And so there was a much closer relationship trade-wise. Nowadays, the situation is not as close anymore. It hasn't been that close since 2003. And trade is more significant with our neighbors, particularly Brazil. Brazil is a very large economy as well. So we had different trade agreements, but more regional trade agreements. One is called Mercosur, and that is with Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, Bolivia, and Paraguay. And the other one is UNASUR, which actually was created by his beloved president, Chavez. But it tends to be more, because we are so far away, trade tends to be more regional than the case of Mexico.
The question I had is, when you guys came to America for the first time, what were some major culture shocks that you ran into?
Do you want, since you
well, the small town where I come from, the culture, and we are all very loud people. And there is music everywhere, and you walk downtown and the speakers are roaring, and then in the evening sometimes we used to have serious problems falling asleep because there was music, right on the neighbors had music blaring, and people are partying and drinkers, and then now I live in Chatham. And I never, the first time, I remember the first couple of nights I was like, Sophia, I think you could turn some music on. You want to give me some noise? I can't fall asleep. It's too quiet. Of course, it's a joke, but yeah, the culture is, radically different, extremely. Well, I found out that, despite the people, it's not as easy. Like this guy is from Venezuela, for example, and I know I can go to him immediately, and
we just made it before the presentation. Okay?
And I know we're gonna hit it off just because I know he's from we're similar. I used to have friends in college from Venezuela, so I know exactly, more or less, and we can become good friends right now, immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a person from here is very different, you know. It takes a little while. I've been here long enough to know that the people here are great and very caring and wonderful, marvelous people. But it takes a little more seeing of each other and more shaking hands and a little more time in order to develop those relationships. You know, over there you can be immediately great friends with someone. Hey, how are you?
They come to your house, you know, without even calling
Without-
before.
Let me tell you something about the parties in Venezuela, for example. Here is really, I mean, for me it was like a what? Because here the parties are from 7 to 9. Just to give an example. No, I mean, you say the time, okay? But you know what time it starts? You know what time it ends. Period.
So you're going to stay here for a long time, okay?
Right.
This is
But
our
in Venezuela,
party.
for example, if they say that the party starts at 8, for example,
no food.
if you show up there at 8, the owners of the house are going to say, what the heck are you doing here? It's too early.
Yeah.
First, I know that's easy. At what time the party ends? When the last person leaves the house. No, it could be the next day at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Right. That's
Not
the way it
really.
is.
It
That's
can
the
be
way
5
it
a.m.
is.
the next day in the morning.
And then just quickly, one other thing that I met when I went to Louisiana, I graduated from Louisiana State University. My first year there, you know, freshmen, they're all wild and crazy. So I go to, you know, we see that there's a party at, I don't know, I can't remember, but it had the initials BYOB. You guys know what BYOB is? let's just go to the party, man. I mean, they're inviting us to a party. Go to the party, and we were the only ones that hadn't brought anything to drink. And Sophia can tell you this, when you have a party in Latin America, it's like you showcase and you don't ask anybody to bring anything. Yeah. You know, you provide the alcohol and you provide the food.
There's no such thing as a potluck.
There is no such thing as a potluck, or much worse, a BYOB. So let's get them out of here, because there's no booze, man.
Something that impact me a lot is your incredible drivers.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yes, please.
Yes. Yeah.
You
Oh,
are
yeah.
very, very decent, if you want to call it that way.
Yes.
You stop right on a stop sign. You allow the people to pass in the front. We don't do that. Honestly. It's a matter of fact, I even have a ticket here. 10 days. I've been here 10 days and I already have a ticket. And I hand my driver license from Guatemala to the gentleman. He says, "What is this?" It's my driver license. You don't have local driver license? No. Okay. My advice is to get driver license, local permission to drive. Next time you come to Guatemala, but here is your ticket. And I have to go to court in the 21st of October. I'm leaving the 23rd of September. Anyway, to give you an idea how we are to drive in Guatemala, no? And for that, I respect you. I respect you. You are incredible drivers. The lady, it's incredible. But I appreciate very much that you allow me to come to your country to share something with you. Usually I do presentation in archaeology. Some of the universities, I'm going to be there talking about the Mayans, how the Mayans rise to a certain level of knowledge, and also why and how the Mayan civilization collapsed. Remember, Mayans covered 375,000 square kilometers of an incredible culture. If you want to know, I think the lady over there, Teresa Kramer, knows when I'm going to be in some of the universities that I'm going to be sharing archaeology. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Okay, I think that we'll go ahead and call it quits there. We have reception that's getting cold outside. It's almost 9 o'clock, and if I don't get home to my children soon, my parents are going to kick them out. Thank you. Thank you all.